Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. And boy, do we have a great group for you today. Of course, I am Glenn Haussman, and you have tuned into Hotel Business's Hot Topics virtual panel series. I'm so excited to be here. I love doing this partnership with my great friends over at Hotel Business. You might know me from the No Vacancy News channel on our show, No Vacancy Live, No Vacancy News Today, and of course, Friday Night Audit, our Friday night happy hour comedy show. Today, Home Sweet Home, self-directing the hotel room experience. Today, we're going to be talking all about how customers interact in the guest room and how it's evolving, mirroring that home experience. We talk a lot about how we want things to be more residential, but is it really playing out in hotel rooms across the world? And as automation and access to personalized content becomes standard, guests expect the same from their hotel stay. So now it's time to rethink everything, really figure out what you need to do to get guests happy that are staying in rooms, particularly since extended stay, that segment is really coming on and people are staying longer and want to be at home. So we've got a great panel today, amazing panelists. Let me introduce everyone before we get into it. We got Anna Skosavama, VP, Extended Stay Brands, Strategy and Operations at Choice Hotels International. Ron Pohl, coming all the way from Australia, where it's 3 a.m. You, sir, deserve a trophy. President of International Operations, President of World Hotels with BWH Hotel Group. Then we got Matt Schwartz, CTO with Sage Hospitality. And we're going to get some great numbers and statistics from Kristen Hannon, Director of Research with Parks Associates. And Kim Twiggs is DirecTV's Associate VP of Market Development and DirecTV. And finally, Peter Pally, SVP Commercial and Technology Property Owner and Stay Experience Products and Platforms, IHG. So this is going to be about a 1-hour conversation, given a little bit of take. And I really want this to be as interactive as possible. Now, you know, I love to ask questions, but I really want you to ask the questions out there as much as possible, because today it's about actionable insights and improving your business and making you more successful at what you do. So what are you thinking about? Let us know in that chat box. I promise you, we will get to that question as soon as we possibly can. And if you want to rejoin this after you've seen this session today, well, the write-up's going to be in the August issue of Hotel Business on hotelbusiness.com, so you could watch it there. And of course, you'll find it on social media, LinkedIn and Twitter. And it's going to be available on demand at hotelbusiness.com. Plus, it's going to be on the No Vacancy podcast feed as an audio podcast. Right now, how much did you pay? Still zero for you. Thanks for tuning in. But I would like to thank our partner today, DirecTV, for today's panel discussion. Now, all of that is over the way. I am tired of hearing my own voice at this point. So thank you all for being here. And again, Ron, thank you so much for being all the way from Australia. So I am going to throw it to you first, since you're furthest away, right? What are you folks thinking about right now at World Hotels when it comes to that in-room hospitality experience to make people be happy when they're there and as convenient as possible?
Yeah, thanks, Glenn, and thanks for having me on this panel. It's a great group here to engage with today. At World, it's really a bit unique in that the expectations of the guest room entertainment and how we engage with them is different based on the resort or the hotel that they're at. In many of the locations, quite honestly, the guest room is the least amount of time they're going to spend while they're at the property. But it is about, in my opinion, making it most similar to the home experience. And the key focus for us right now is streaming casting and that accessibility to their TV use by using their mobile device. And so as we continue to evolve that ability to do that, it is complicated, and I'm glad we have DirecTV on here to help us with that, because that's where we're seeing the most usage, quite honestly. Mobile devices, the connectivity to everything in the hotel from the time they walk in the door, even before they walk in, and in the guest room, that's really the application we're seeing most.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anna, for you, even though Ron said maybe even though that's a necessity, it's not used as often for you, you're focused on all the extended stay hotels within the Choice Hotels portfolio. Of course, we're talking about Woodspring and brands like that. So, and the brand new Everhome Suites, love that brand over there. So people are by nature staying a lot longer, right? So you have to think about things a little bit differently, a little bit more in depth, because they're not going to be spending all their time hanging out with nobody in the lobby.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do, and I think, Glenn, you have seen this and heard us talk about this, is we actually build out an innovation center in Wichita where we have guest rooms that are set up so that we're able to bring through guests and conduct different research and make sure that we are thinking about every touch point in the room. To your point, it's not just about one aspect of the room. So full-size kitchens, to the way that we set up a bathroom to make sure that there's enough space for our guests, right? And then we have the right appliances even. So think about like air fryers versus, George Foreman grills back in the day, right? So yeah, there's a lot of things that we need to kind of consider as we think about if somebody's staying for 30 days, what are the types of conveniences they need to make sure that it is an at-home experience as much as possible. But one of the things we are also doing that Ron mentioned is in Everhome Suites in particular is that casting capability, and so we have also seen a lot of usage in that so far in our first hotel, and guests love being able to just bring in their own content, so to speak, while they're on the road for a long period of time.
A lot to digest there, but one thing that I like most, you brought up the George Foreman grill. I actually just watched a video on that on YouTube the other day. It just popped up on there. For those, we're all about education here. He made a lot more on that grill than he actually did in his entire boxing career. But I like what you're saying. You're thinking about air fryers and stuff like that. And we're going to dig more into that sort of stuff in just a little while. But Peter, I want to bring it over to you right now. We already got a question, and obviously we were going to talk about this one. Nick Corkin is asking, hey, Peter, can you please share some information about Apple Play availability? IHG is launching.
Yeah, well, thank you to Nick for posing the question there. It's one of our really exciting initiatives that we were able to announce, fairly recently, as late as last week is when we actually were able to share this. So Apple at their Worldwide Developers Conference actually were kind enough to include us, and we're announcing to the world that we will be their first partner in working on enabling customers to utilize and share and stream their content through their AirPlay solutions in hotels. So we are working on that with them in conjunction with us continuing to expand our in-house IHG Studio product, which is already a really great content platform that we have. But the ultimate goal is to really make it as easy for the customer as possible to consume content, right? So obviously Apple is in a different industry than IHG Hotels and Resorts, but I think where we're very well aligned is in our continuous focus on how do we provide the best possible customer experience. So very excited about the road ahead there.
All right, so Matt, I got to take it to you. We've talked to 3 major, franchise organizations. How are you at Sage, and for those of you who don't know, a management company that works with a lot of different brands, including independent hotels, how are you thinking about it and trying to connect the dots between what these amazing professionals are saying and what you're trying to accomplish for your guests in the room?
Sure. Maybe following on with the sports reference with George Foreman, last night as I'm watching the Denver Nuggets win their first championship ever. Yep. So super exciting day.
Congratulations
here in Denver.
Yep.
What I'm thinking about is some simple things. One, connectivity, amazing Wi-Fi connectivity, amazing cell phone connectivity. I'm thinking about the TV size. You can have all the content in the world, but if you don't have the right screen to put it on, so TV size makes a huge difference. I love asking Alexa about stats while I'm watching. So having some kind of vehicle there. So we're thinking about what is it about the at-home experience that we want to take into the guest room? What are those elements like connectivity and TV size that guests really care about?
Yeah, I like the TV size thing. It's one of the first things that I judge a hotel room on. Even if I'm not there long enough to actually sit down and watch programming, to me, it's very symbolic of the effort that the hotel is putting in to make the guest feel good about their stay. And as we all know, I've been in this business for a long time, and throughout that time, we've been trying to stay ahead of the size of TVs we have at home. And while that may not be possible any longer, you do want to try to maximize the impact of that particular thing for when the guest walks in. Kimberly, I'm going to get to you in 1 second, but I feel like Kristen's probably got some numbers that'll dazzle us based on what we're talking about here.
Sure. So, Glenn, I think we brought up some very interesting points talking about kind of what is most impactful when you're staying in a hotel. Also talking a bit about the hotel video experience. I can say Parks Associates. So we do a lot of consumer surveys for a year, very big surveys asking U.S. internet households what they think about a large number of topics. In the first quarter of this year, we actually asked 5,000 households about their most recent hotel stays, how they consume video in the hotel, and what they're actually looking for when it comes to this. We found that, of course, a lot of people do report watching video in hotels. Something around 80% reported watching video on the hotel TV in the most recent stay. So certainly some very high numbers there. What we also found is that, well, there is, I think, a meaningfully large percentage currently connecting their phone to the hotel TV. Most consumers who are watching video in hotels are still watching the live TV channels. So there is not necessarily a lot of access to that mobile connection. So certainly a very big point of differentiation for lots of folks. Lots of people are, of course, they're looking to watch the same kind of content that they have at home on the hotel. So being able to access their familiar apps in a very easy fashion.
And Kristen, thank you for putting the statistics behind what our guts are telling us, right? Because when I go into hotels, I'm exactly the same way. I'm looking for the path of least resistance, but I've got this device. I've got this device, right? I've got my laptop computer with me. So I'm connected to my content physically and emotionally, because there's a lot of good TV out there. But Kimberly, one of the issues is that path of least resistance to be able to get that onto the screen. And I think Kristen's numbers make sense, 80% with the live TV, because quite frankly, I'm not going to go through the effort to deal with all of that. I'm just going to turn on the news. I'm going to turn on the sports. If I happen to be there at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday, and if I knew what shows ran anymore at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays, I'd watch that. How do you see it, Kim?
Yeah, the research that Kristen shared, we were happy to partner with Parks on earlier this year, and then did another research study with Hub Entertainment, John Giegengak, who was on this same panel last year with us. And it is true, the path of least resistance in the hotel is still live TV. Both the Parks research and the Hub research showed that 2 out of every 3 guests is watching live TV. But the other statistic that's coming up as well, in Kristen's research, she can talk about this, is 70% of guests are actually also interested in logging into their streaming subscriptions in the room. And I think the opportunity for providers like DirecTV is to make that a reality, right? What they want to do and what they can do in the room today are sometimes 2 different things in the hotel environment. And so it's up to partners like DirecTV to work with the brands and ownership groups like Sage to bring the technology that is at home, like streaming, where 70% of guests say they would absolutely log into their subscriptions if it was available to them, to bring that into the room so that we can actually make what they want come true in the room.
Right. And it's got to be seamless, because one major hotel company out there, I've seen the apps on their TV, but I have to do a whole lot of typing. And even though I know it's going to go away, I'm sure a lot of people have concerns about privacy. Matt, I have to go to you. Not only did Kimberly mention you, but you're nodding your head.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there's also a temporal aspect here. I mean, think about a show like Ted Lasso. How many people logged into Apple TV to watch that last episode that came out? And you don't want to be the person who's waiting 4 weeks later. So if you're staying at a hotel that doesn't allow you to do that, it doesn't allow you to watch that on the big screen, that's a major deficiency. And so we want to make sure that we're meeting guests where their demands are. And there is a timing aspect to a lot of these streaming services as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anna, you got a comment on that?
Yeah, no, I think 100%. Those are some of the things that we've been actually testing out in our user experience lab in our offices out in Phoenix. we actually have a model rooms built out from lobbies, check-in areas, a model car. So having that connectivity, right, and understanding where guests are making decisions and making it seamless is very, very important throughout the entire journey of that customer. So that's something that we're looking at right now as well. I'm going to agree 100% with you, Matt. It's got to be just easy for the guests to be able to do.
Yeah, and speaking about easy for the guests to do, Peter, one of the things that I've been enjoying, and I'd love for you to connect the dots here. When I walk into any of your properties and stay the night, I'm already connected to the internet, right? It's been in the United States for a number of years now. I want to say 5, give or take. And now you're going global with that program. Maybe share a little on that and then get back to Anna's point about the television.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that you're appreciating our service.
That's great.
You are an IHG loyalty member. Well done on that front.
Yes, and the other companies too. I don't want to leave
that. But you are right that we have been focused on really establishing what I believe is the industry program around connectivity for the last 5-6 years. Where I think we're really taking it to another level right now is through our launch of Wi-Fi Auto Connect. So, you know, what you're experiencing, just for the audience, is basically that as an IHG loyalty member on the IHG Loyalty One Rewards app, you can actually select to basically always be connected. Meaning that next time you arrive at one of our participating IHG Connect hotels, you don't need to worry about whether the login page is going to load. You don't need to worry about entering your, member ID and password again. You don't need to bother the front desk, who's busy anyway, about getting a new code. You literally walk into the building and you are connected. And now the reason why we picked it as something really important for us to deliver is literally because of the theme of this session, which is how do we provide a similar experience in our hotels that we have at home, right? As in, when I walk into my house, the only reason why I need to worry about connecting to the Wi-Fi is because all the kids are streaming their content, but I never have to worry about a login page or telling the system my details again. So extremely proud of the team that we were able to deliver this. We delivered it in record time. And again, it's now live in more than 5,000 hotels, again, for our loyalty members.
Wow, that's great. I want to thank all of you. I see some of the questions that are coming in. We will get to those ASAP as soon as I could pivot to those particular topics. But Ron, I want to wind down this particular topic there. What are you thinking of in terms of being able to get people's devices or the internet to connect more seamlessly so they can sit back, relax, watch something on a giant TV screen and have a good old night?
Yeah, I think what everybody has shared thus far, seamless, we call it frictionless. What that capability and making it easy for customers to just automatically access that capability. But we also look at it, and I'd be interested in some of the research that was shared earlier, is if that was done based on demographics, because what we see is those expectations are significantly different when we look at baby boomers versus Gen X, Y, and Z, and connecting to those customers is meaningfully different, and especially as you get to the Y and Z, where gaming and all of that is a part of their lives, that when they go to hotels, they would like to see some of those capabilities built into that experience. So, I think the in-room solution and being meaningful to home, as Peter just shared, is you've got a whole different audience at home that have different expectations, and then you got to try to bring that into the hotel and make sure that you're satisfying each of those expectations, because travel is often dictated by the wife or the children, not typically the father. So how are we meeting those expectations as we look to the future?
Yeah, for sure. Kristen, I'm wondering if you have any data on that, but there's a big difference between the way Gen Z works and, for example, my generation X, right? My kids love playing those games, like you just said. And when I was 19, I preferred leaving the house, so very, very different way of looking at things. Kristen, how are you seeing these generational differences, the way they're consuming television? I'm going to guess younger folks, it's more about streaming the content they have, and the baby boomers are a little bit more okay with watching stuff that's on live TV.
Yeah, so we actually did some very recent and very interesting research in partnership with DirecTV, as Kimberly mentioned. that was actually one of the areas we wanted to dig into, really understanding what are the generational differences here. And we actually did find really a lot of difference in terms of what people are interested in with different features, differences between age groups. So as you were saying, with parents with children especially, they are highly interested in all sorts of different features and content that can entertain their children.
Right.
Having a lot of, I'd say, ways to surface new content recommendations, being able to very easily purchase new programs, looking at kind of accessing their Disney Plus subscription on the go.
Yeah.
So being able to pick up where they left off with all these different shows that they may be using to entertain their kids. Generationally, of course, there's this big difference with the different generations, with younger consumers, maybe more interested in gaming, as you were saying, as a form of entertainment. Older consumers watching, I'd say, more video, being able to look at all these different services and very easily surface the content they watch. I'd say those maybe baby boomers, a little bit less interested in some of the new tech features, but still very interested in kind of universal search and having that easy way to access their content.
Thank you for reminding me, Kristen. I totally forgot that hotels used to have like Nintendos and PlayStations in them for a little while, when that was much more a big thing. But Kristen, now, everyone can just play them on their devices. You don't necessarily need that other thing. So it's probably changing the dynamic about how people want to play games in their rooms, correct?
I'd say to a certain extent, yes, correct. A lot of mobile gaming, it's very popular, especially on a casual level. I think that's where a lot of the market is right now. But in terms of that user experience, that being able to keep people engaged for a long time, it's not as good as you would have maybe with kind of a more traditional console experience, or even a kind of a cloud streaming experience.
Yeah. So Kimberly, I mean, for you, you've got to do everything over at DirecTV. You have to make sure every single group is happy. So that way people like Anna, Peter, Matt, and Ron's customers are happy, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think, at DirecTV, with the advanced entertainment platform, which is our premium solution that we have in the market, we are bringing kind of this cross-generational suite of products onto the hotel TV. So some of what Kristen was talking about, and you even held up your devices, what we're focused on is the TV in the room and how we can make the content most accessible across the board. One of the things Kristen mentioned that we've been testing for in the research is this concept of universal search, and that really resonates across all demographics and across all generations. There's such a plethora of content out there right now, so many different subscription services. I'm actually at the Stream TV show in Denver right now. And one of the presenters earlier today was like, we're complicating it with all these different acronyms, AVOD, SVOD, FAST. It's just TV. And so if we're able to aggregate all of that into one place on the hotel room TV, make it easy for them to find the content. It was mentioned Ted Lasso. Maybe you don't know what service that show is on, but you should be able to search for it and come up with it pretty easily in the room. The concept of universal search seems to play well across all of the different generations. So that's been an interesting finding in the study as well.
So at the streaming event, do you guys meet in the ballroom, or do you all have to watch everything on your in-room TVs?
That's a good question. I'm surprised I'm not watching it all from the hotel room, but no, definitely in a ballroom with speakers on a stage, old school.
I like that. So, Peter, let me take it back to you. Any additional thoughts on what Kimberly was saying?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a point on the subject of demographics. If I think about our IHG1 Rewards loyalty program, which has north of 115 million members now, and even outside of the program, we have many millions with us every year. We kind of cover the entire demographic spectrum, right? So it's important to be focused on that, but I think it's even more important to focus on the fact that we're not just one thing.
Right.
And even though if you were to assess me, I fit into a specific box, a specific set. But ultimately, my experience needs and what I expect from hotels tend to vary, because I'm not just one thing, right? Sometimes I'm a Tuesday night business traveler in a major US metropolitan area. Sometimes I'm a weekend away with the family kind of guy. Right? So I think it's really ultimately about how do we provide our guests with choice and control. right? So depending whatever their reason for the stay, depending whatever the occasion, we give them the opportunity to kind of customize their own experience and choose what works best for them.
Right. So Anna, you got the choice part down. It's right there in the name afterwards, but after all, but what about the control part? And what I'm talking about now is people are staying longer, so they are definitely going to watch that live TV more likely. How do you think about what types of channels that you could offer to them? Is it a matter of giving them as much as possible so they can make a choice, or is that kind of too much and it confuses them and you try to, you know, whittle it down to the essentials, or maybe it's somewhere in between? How do you see that?
Yeah, I think choice is really important. And if I think about our extended stay guests and folks who travel for 30 plus days at a time, variety is probably going to be better than less, given that you are actually living, so to speak, right on site in that hotel room. So I think the choice part of that is critical, but I also think, and what I discussed before, and being able to provide some of these capabilities like casting so that they can bring their own content is also important. I think one of the other things, and I know we've been talking a lot about the guest experience here too, but as we roll out these types of technologies and capabilities, it's important to keep in mind the owner side of this as well, right? And making sure that we're kind of keeping costs in line and that we're not necessarily on the leading edge of some of these technologies, right? So want to make sure that we're being very deliberate and thoughtful about where the consumers actually want us to spend the money and provide the choice for them in their hotel experience.
And that's really a great point you bring up, Anna, because there's a real difference between what consumers say they want and what they actually need in the rooms that are going to satisfy them. And then you got that whole owner's portion of it. And I've seen so many technologies come and go that we thought were going to be the next big thing and then kind of petered out, such as the aforementioned gaming systems in hotel rooms. And I remember there was this one major hotel room in the major Miami, Fort Lauderdale area that had full Apple computers and giant screens in all of their rooms. And they were very difficult to use. And all they did was take up the desktop space with where I wanted to put my laptop computer. So it seemed like a real waste of money for owners. So you have to be really careful. Ron, how do you judge what is a go forward technology for your brand versus what you're going to wait on or not include at all?
Yeah, we prefer not to be on the leading edge of some of these different options, because, you know, I recall 5-6 years ago, you know, Alexa was going to be the next greatest thing in
at Best Western business. Actually, you did one of the first test programs with that. I recall. I think it was like 2 or 3 properties or something, right?
Yeah, it was up as many as 20 hotels, and used it for a way to communicate differently. And yeah, once the fad, you know, fell off, you know, who uses it today? I don't know.
I do.
Do you
I use it for
as a timer?
4 minutes for my French press coffee timer every single morning, and I need to know what the weather is constantly. Other than that, I don't use it.
Yeah. So, but I think there are some good technologies, and I agree with Anna that how do we require the things that are important to the customer, but also have a return for the owner as well,
right?
And how we can. You know, we're tested in Scandinavia, a hologram check-in avatar, and it's in test right now. The idea behind that was, can we save money at the front desk with having a different way to check in, and you know, using avatar type training for behind the scenes, so hotels aren't taking the, you know, important time away from other management staff members to train their staff. So using that can be more efficient, as well as we all know that energy costs and the like are increasing pretty substantially. How can we use technology to reduce costs for the operators as well? And I don't know that the mobile device and controlling the different temperatures in the guest room and all of that is something that people expect today. But you know, you travel throughout Europe and you see that when you check into a hotel, you've got to put a key card inside the room for the air conditioning and lights and everything to stay on for extended period of time. Those are technology that makes sense in a guest room, that people are getting more and more accustomed to that I think are important for both the guest and the operator.
Matt, I mean, he makes a great point. We're now thinking about the wider types of technology that go in there, technologies that control the room while saving energy and stuff. And we got a great question here that goes right into it from Harrison Dorn. What role do you believe sustainability and ESG plays or will play in the future in regards to guest experience? And how are you approaching that, Matt, over at your company at Sage?
Yeah, we're piloting a lot of technologies in the ESG space, some in the guest room, some outside. You know, one that's outside that's showing a lot of promise is we have a waste digester that is part of a composting process, and it actually generates some liquid that can be used as a planting material. And
Matt, I thought you weren't going to tell anyone about my second job.
That's right.
Over there.
So the waste digester is one of those exciting things. But no, in room, to Ron's point, look, lighting controls, thermostat controls, there's a big savings opportunities, particularly on the energy side. And certainly those are things that we're experimenting with. I do believe, I am in agreement with Ron, though. I have never seen a published study that particularly those room controls for lights, blinds, thermostat, that lead to a higher ADR, or that given the choice, a guest is willing to pay a higher ADR to have that tech in the room. So I do agree with Ron, and I think we do have to be mindful for our owners, particularly as labor expenses are going up and people are sensitive about margins, about what is the appropriate amount of tech to put in the room. How much tech does a guest want in the room? Sometimes guests go to the room and they want to escape. So, and we also have to be mindful of the associates. How much can they support?
Right. And I remember a major Las Vegas casino resort that had opened probably 15 years or so ago, right? Yeah, I think you guys probably know what I'm talking about. And they had this great system in the rooms that would control everything. Unfortunately, the technology was so nascent at the time that it was a lot more complicated than intuitive to make it work. So, Peter, technology can be great, but if it's not intuitive and easy and is going to really make a difference for guests and owners, then what's the point, right?
Yeah, I think that's 100% correct. And just to go back one step on the subject of sustainability, you know, under our Journey to Tomorrow program, of course, we also address all sorts of variations of, you know, new product ideas, new processes, under the guard of and focus on sustainability. I think those programs work best when what the customer wants and needs and believes in is well aligned with what's good for business. And so I think ultimately it's about trying to figure out, how do you triangulate that, right? How do you drive value in upfront? So I think those are the technologies and the focus areas that will ultimately succeed.
Yeah. And I think ultimately as customers, we are focused more on using less electricity, but not at the expense of the enjoyment of the stay, which takes us back to Matt, what you were kind of saying there. Everybody wants things a little bit differently, right? Kristen was just giving us some statistics on how people watch programming different, but what they want in the room at any given time depends on where they're staying and what their mood is and what their purpose of trip is, right?
Definitely. And I think, you know, look in the future, my belief is that everyone's going to have their personal AI. We're seeing this a little bit with ChatGPT now, but you got to think in the next 5 years, you're going to have your personal AI, and we're actually going to be de-scoping a lot of the tech in the room, and hotels will have their own kind of AI platforms. And just imagine you land in a city 30 minutes before arrival, your AI will talk to the hotel AI and it'll know, I like my room at 68 degrees. I like these TV channels in my lineup. I like my blinds like this. You know, my dinner reservations at 7, at 6:30, my AI will talk to the hotel AI and ask for the valet. That's the future of where things are going. Hyper personalization for the guest and the ability to communicate that hyper personalization to the hotel.
Yeah, I've been talking for 20 years. What it would be great if we could take the technology, tie it into our programs, our loyalty programs. And when I could walk into the room, some of the artwork is of the artwork I've pre-chosen. So I could see my kids or something like that, or in my case, my cats. They're the only ones that'll speak to me in the house. But Anna, How are you thinking about when it comes to sustainability at extended stay properties in your portfolio? Because you want to do what's best for the owners. You want to put, you want to tell people you're environmentally forward, but at the same time, you've got people staying there for a long time and they need to be comfortable.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about extended stay that it already kind of meets some of the boxes in terms of environmentally friendly is the actual model, right? So you only turn rooms every week or every 2 weeks, depending on the brand that you're staying in. So we're already pretty energy efficient from that standpoint. But one of the other things that we've actually launched here at Choice is a platform where we are monitoring with the franchisees all the energy usage, and it's a benchmarking platform so that we can understand where are we seeing opportunities for each individual property. So we've discovered properties, for instance, that have a leak and they're spending $50,000 more in water, and we figure that out with them saying, you know, a property like yours should be like this, not up here. Something is wrong, right? So that we're constantly monitoring that and making sure that we are you know, on top of what we should be doing from an energy usage standpoint. But yes, we are very already, I think, conscious around that in the extended stay realm. Guests, certainly, if there's guest laundry and then, you know, we turn the rooms, they can ask for more, but typically we find that guests don't. And they're happy if they're staying there for multi-weeks, kind of using what they've already been provided in the room without asking and demanding for more.
Yeah, that's really the key to it. All right, let's ask some of the questions from the audience. Wayne Schneider is saying, how has pandemic supply chain challenges changed procurement when it comes to hard versus performance specs mandated by brands? Will we continue to see hard specs, or will we start to see more performance specs? Ron, how are you thinking about that particular issue? And in different global markets here in the United States, getting word that there's a lot of boats outside Long Beach again, for example.
Yeah, thanks. And Wayne, thanks for that question. Wayne's a good partner with us as well.
Oh, great. And I know Wayne too.
Yeah. You know, I think, you know, common sense must prevail when I think COVID gave us a reset on what standards need to be in a hotel and what's important and what's not. And then when you had supply chain on top of that, what the availability of product changed, really what the necessity was. So I think looking smarter at what guests do expect, like Anna was just saying, with regard to housekeeping service and those sorts of things, but, you know, also the actual standards themselves. And evolving them to, you know, bulk amenity dispensers and the things that, you know, customers now prefer and accept and have accepted in Europe for many years.
Right.
And now into the States, and those all have significant impact on the expenses for the hotel. It meets guest expectations. Again, I think the sustainability discussion is even more of a demographic issue. While we're all accepting it and we know it's the right thing to do, younger generations just absolutely are, you know, expecting it in every aspect of what they do. So I think the standards have to go in line with that. You know, we look at bottled water, we give it out oftentimes, but certain part of the world you have to, because that's the only drinkable water that you have. But in the rest of the world, is it really a necessity or something that we should continue to do? It's just not good business. So I think all of those are costs that are associated with the hotel, but it's nice that they're aligned with guest expectations today, and that the more they see that, with the exception of the luxury segment, I would say that that's a little bit different. With the rates they're paying, they still are expecting a lot for that.
Yeah, funny. Wayne is also saying technology will always be important and ever changing. Can you touch on some more traditional items like bulk dispensers, sheets, and towels? You'd like totally nailed that one. Matt, how about you? Because you've got, you know, different stakeholders, different constituents, different brands, different everything.
You know, it's a wide variety. Every brand's got a different standard, but you know, back to Ron's comments, you know, just think about when you travel. The good thing is we're all our own customer. What are those things you look for? You want a clean room. You want the room to be quiet. right? You want to have a place where you can go to just kind of decompress and connect, for work or for personal. Like I said, the connectivity is still number one concern. And you just want to have a room that has enough tech in it that the guest is going to be able to meet their needs. While at the same time, we create places that people go to, not through, is our tagline. One of the things that we go for. And we want to also create, and it was mentioned earlier, that inviting lobby experience. And what is the tech you want there as well? Is it a wireless charger? Is it something else? So there's a lot of tech that we look at. And I think being thoughtful about where the tech is in the room, in the lobby, in the meeting space is also very important.
Yeah, not relevant to anyone here, but I love wireless phone chargers on slot machines at casinos. I think that's a really cool, thing. That's right there. So Anna, I want to ask you real quick, because I've got some other tech related questions, but you mentioned those appliances earlier, and that's one thing I never really talked about when it comes to extended stay hotels. What is it that guests really want? I mean, other than obviously the George Foreman, are they into that air fryer? Are they into other types of things that are coming around? And how do you make that choice? And how do you consider what the maintenance, replacement, and cleaning would be for all of that stuff?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we have lending programs in all of our extended stay brands, right? So we do constant real time. We understand what the customers are asking for and what they're requesting. So from blenders to air fryers, those types of small appliances are actually in pretty high demand. And depending on the location and how long a guest may be staying, they may be switching in and out some of those appliances. In terms of a maintenance and replaceability standpoint, we don't see a ton of shrinkage.
That's good.
With these small
I was just thinking usage and they get really dirty.
Yeah. So certainly there's the replaceability aspect of it, and making sure that everything's sanitized, obviously, before you pass it on to the next guest. But it is not a huge labor draw on the hotel from an operations standpoint, and it really makes the guests happy that they can kind of cook the meals that they want in while they're there, since they don't want to eat out every day if you're staying there for a month. So it's been a really successful program for us, and certainly we watch the data in terms of what are the hotels using, so we can flip in and out the different appliances that might make sense.
I typically just make grilled cheese sandwiches with an iron in the room, but that's just me.
You gotta come stay in one of our extended stay hotels, Glenn.
I know. All right, I don't really do that. I don't really eat grilled cheese sandwiches over there. All right, so we got an anonymous attendee. Kimberly, maybe this is a great question for you. As an independent property, what is the best way to deliver streaming content?
So I'm a little bit biased, but I think the best way is going to be via DirecTV's advanced entertainment platform, obviously. You want to deliver a solution into the property that's going to do two things. One, deliver easily accessible content for the guests, and then also conserve bandwidth in a way that's not going to tax the other bandwidth consumption needs inside the property. And so with AEP, we're able to deliver both live TV and streaming apps and casting, which we talked about earlier today, in a way that is an efficient use of the broadband in the hotel, and also gives the guest choice, which we've talked about a lot, lots of different options to choose from while they're there on site.
Kristen, any insight on what kind of options people are really looking for right now, particularly with that live TV element versus the other things?
Sure. So we have seen, of course, that people are interested, I'd say, in accessing a wide variety of content. Live TV, of course, is just a very quick, easy way to go right into it. So people do like accessing kind of the traditional pay TV. So with the live premium channels, so being able to get stuff they might not necessarily have at home. We see lots of people also consuming some of the FAST services. So the free ad-supported content is also kind of a quick and easy way to get in. People are looking at different apps too, streaming apps that they can just use. Of course, the many times people, when they are accessing these apps, they're looking for the familiar ones that they can access and they access at home. So your Netflixes, Disney Plus, Prime Video, Hulu, HBO Max in the US market. Also this very large, I'd say, tail end of different services.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. All right, so moving on, Wallace is saying, and this is an interesting question to me, and Peter, maybe you could answer this one. Is remote check-in and device-based key a passing fad on the phone? And is it even desirable? And I'll add in, I guess it depends who you're talking about.
I think that might be the answer to the question.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is that, again, a little bit back to the point of choice and control. You know, if I use the example I used earlier, if I'm staying on a Tuesday night in New York City,
right,
I'd like to bypass the front desk. And whether that's enabled through a digital key on my phone or whether that's maybe enabled through a key dispenser in the lobby, I think there's many different varieties of how you can facilitate that. But I think there's a customer need and desire and want of, I'd like to be able to choose. Whereas again, if I'm staying at a beach resort on the weekend, hey, I want to talk to the front agent because I need to organize some activities so I can, you know, get rid of the kids for a little while and have some peace and quiet. So I think we've, again, just got to create solutions that work for the customer, gives them the choice and control. But I do not believe that the desire for a customer to bypass the front desk and have a really quick and easy path to the room is a fad. But I do believe that we're actually going to get more creative about the different ways to enable that rather than just being fixated on the notion of the key's got to be on the mobile phone.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I still think that not everybody wants to use that particular thing. We all have our different ways of doing things. I am not a key on the phone kind of guy because I'm older and I remember when phone batteries would last 3 minutes and then I would be worried about it. Not only that, but I was at a major resort again in Las Vegas because I seem to be there a lot, and everyone was trying to get their phones to work to get to, you know, to get the pass, you know, to let you push the button to your room, and nobody was having luck, and it wound up being much more difficult for them and really affected the guest experience negatively, giving them the opposite of what they were really hoping for. Matt, how are you judging this? Because of anyone, you're dealing with different personalities all the time and different properties and all of that. So is it something that you have to have and understand that some will use it and some will not?
Yeah, great question, Glenn. Look, we have strong partnerships with a variety of the brands, Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, and folks that are on the call with IHG and Choice. And everyone's got a different standard and everyone's putting a different amount of R&D into whether you want mobile key, whether you want mobile check-in. And I think, look, as Peter said, there are guests who want to bypass the front desk. They've had a long flight. They just want to get to their room. They've been to the hotel before. They know the drill. And they just want to get in with as least friction as possible, to use Ron's phrase, they're frictionless. And then there are guests, it's their first time. Maybe they want to learn about the amenities. You know, our belief at Sage is that the front desk is not there for transaction. It is there for to build a relationship. We want our front desk associates to be the best Airbnb hosts that they can be. You know, what are the great coffee shops? What are the great restaurants? What are those amenities? Those are the conversations we want our front desk folks having, not so much the transactional check-in. So I do think there is a mix for both, but I do think we will see more and more mobile key. You know, going back to ESG, the plastic keys are not environmentally friendly. I think that's going to become more and more of a standard. And I also think on the check-in, you know, there are more and more folks that are traveling that want that frictionless experience.
And I just want to share that I've saved every hotel room key in like the last 15, 20 years that I have. I've got stacks.
We're going to send you a bill, Glenn.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, nature, for destroying Earth, but I'm going to make a great mural out of it one day. That's kind of my goal. Ron, you know, we're talking about technologies that might be fads. You know, the phone key, that is definitely not a fad. I think it's just going to be a slower rate of adoption, particularly in different parts of the world. When you do invest in a technology, what are you thinking about in terms of its lifespan? I keep thinking about all those clock radios that have 32-pin Apple connectors on them, for example. And then when I go to a hotel and see that in there, not only can I not charge my device, but it gives me a below the service mental thought that maybe this hotel isn't up to snuff.
Yeah, and again, I think that it's not jumping on the the craze of today and thinking that that's going to be something that's adopted. You know, the mobile key discussion has been something we've been talking about for 6 or 7 years, and I think the highest adoption is about 10% right now. So
wow,
you know, it's customers, it's not a frictionless experience, just like you were talking about. Being in Vegas and trying to get it to work. So I think using the technology that helps expedite the process and make it simpler for the customer is what we need to do. And then look carefully at what are I mean, there's new devices, there's new apps, there's new applications that are coming out every day. And not all are created equal or will have that chance of success. So we're just cautious about what ones we think are important to the customer and the owner and invest in those. AI is certainly one where there is a lot of potential there, but you know, you got to also avoid being creepy with that and knowing too much about the customer or the sense that they think that you know too much about them. You know,
I feel like it's the same sort of roadblocks, Ron, that you might have had when you were testing Alexa.
Yes,
you know,
it absolutely is that. And you know, we've gone through and said, okay, why do we even have clock radios in guest rooms? Nobody,
because somebody's got to make sure the time is wrong. It's not
they're never, I was going to say they're never right. So why do you have it there? And it's better just to have accessibility of chargers you know, throughout that can be used. But the other technology that we've just begun to look at is the use of beacons in a property. And you know, this is something that shopping centers and malls have used most recently to understand what customers are doing when they're in a place and where are they engaging, and being able to send notices if they're in the lobby of, hey, there's a happy hour from 5 to 7. So using information that you can carry from one stay to the next with a guest that then can encourage them to enjoy the facilities and certainly drive revenue to the owner is something that we're looking at.
I think that's great. And Peter, one of the things that I talked about for years for enhancing that in-room experiences, if you folks could get to know me and know that I like you know, a particular type of movie that might be on. Hey, have you seen this latest action adventure? And oh, by the way, we know you like beer. Why don't you pair it with this beer and maybe get some chicken wings to go with it? Any progress in something, you know, like that to really help upsell while people are in the rooms?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different angles there, and I think most of you on this call know that IHG, of course, was one of the leading companies to really start thinking about room attribution, you know, how to enable customers to buy rooms differently. We're now also moving on to really offer the ability for our customers to add on non-room related items over time.
Right.
But I think at the core of what we still need to address, not just at IHG, but really as an industry to truly get to, hey, Glenn likes beer and chicken wings, is still have to continue to have a relentless focus on data. Which, by the way, to me, the arrival of AI solutions doesn't take away the need to focus on that. It actually makes it more important. As in, this might just be my take on AI, but to me, there's no magic in that machine, right? That machine is just as reliant on data, and especially good quality data, if you want to have useful responses for the customers. So I think we just have to continue to focus on data, centralizing data. How do we use data? How do we exchange data in a more live way than we've been able to do in the past? So there needs to be still an ongoing evolution of many different platforms to truly get to that nirvana of, hey, I can predict that Glenn might call us at 10:30 this evening to order his chicken wings.
Now, from your lips to you know whose ears on me getting some chicken wings and beer at my room. But Anna, how are you thinking about utilizing technology to understand better what your customers are looking for when they're staying in an extended stay property in the room?
Yeah, I think you know, Peter hit it correctly in terms of being able to collect as much as the data as possible and being able to really kind of drill down in terms of what it is that the customers are using. So some of the things that we're doing in our newest brand, Everhome Suites, for instance, with that marketplace, making that a seamless experience for guests, right? You can walk in, use your guest key, understand what are they looking for? Do they want sundries? Do they want snacks? Do they want beer, right? Do they want wine? Understanding kind of what the guest is actually looking for when they're there for a longer period of time. And then being able to really marry that up with some of the other things that they're doing in the property. So we have Pelotons in there, right? So are people logging in? Are they actually accessing their own, workouts and with any frequency?
Cool.
So what are the types of things that the guests are really utilizing? And then where do we potentially need to pivot, right? I mean, when we think about technology, it's things that we're actively using, things that we're investigating, and things that we're monitoring. So there's kind of 3 different phases in terms of how we think about that, and then employing the data against that to say, where does it make sense to invest or not? And that's not the right type of technology or feature that a long-staying guest might want to leverage.
And I'm also thinking, just to make it really practical, if you have long-term guests that are staying in various of your properties, right? And I'll just say Woodspring, because Everhome's still a burgeoning brand over there, right? They might like to have Cocoa Puffs delivered to them at every single hotel. You might be able to anticipate what their grocery needs are and already have that there for them without them having to make those choices too.
Yeah, those are the types of services that we're actively looking at right now in terms of how do we make that easy for the guests. Obviously, everybody can DoorDash and whatnot on their own, but how do we provide that value add that might actually result in a new revenue stream for the owner, but also delight the guests at the same time.
All right. So we're starting to get low on time. So I've got one more question for each of you folks. And then I'd love maybe a final thought wrapped around in that. Ron, I'll start with you. What in-room technology do you think is most important now, in 2 years, and in 5 years? And feel free to lie, because no one's going to pay attention in 5 years to this podcast.
Right. Well, I think now, and the point you made on the onset is guests have an expectation when they walk into a guest room, and size of TV matters.
Yep.
And again, something that's closest to home is everybody has huge TVs at home these days. So you're already going to start behind the 8 ball if you don't have a good TV. And Wi-Fi is still one of the biggest frustrations in a guest room. I was on conference call yesterday, and a bunch of the participants from around the world were dropping off because they couldn't remain connected on the Wi-Fi in the different hotels.
Right.
So I think that's, today that's important. In the future, we need to be able to adapt to everything that everybody just said on this call. Is we all have our own unique preferences when we arrive at a hotel. It's our obligation as in the hospitality business to be able to provide those without having to ask those questions or having the guests have to ask for them every time they come into one of our properties. So we need to use AI and the capabilities we have today to understand what guest expectations are and meet them as they walk into a property and are able to check in almost seamlessly, so it's not transactional. I think Matt said it earlier. It's all up. We're still a service industry. It's still about the connection with people. That doesn't change. 5 years from now, I look to the Jetsons. It was an old time cartoon that some may or may not have ever watched, but it seems like the more and more you see some of the capabilities of what they had in their homes and how they traveled is coming true. So, we need to look at that and say, what type of electronics and devices were in place then. And I think we'll be on a good path.
Hey, listen, once we get robots cleaning rooms, that housekeeping problem is going to go away. And by the way, they also invented time travel. I don't know if you ever saw that episode where they met the Flintstones. That was a classic one over there. I think it was a movie, though. Matt, how about you, sir?
So I think right now, connectivity, whether that's Wi-Fi, 5G, 2 years from now, I think it's still going to be connectivity. Maybe it's Wi-Fi and 6G. And then, echoing Ron, I think
I'm not stopping until we get to 10G. That's what
right.
I'm saying.
We stopped counting at 10.
Yeah.
And then I think in 5 years from now, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's AI. It's my AI talking to the hotel AI for hyper personalization. And I do think, we laugh about it, but the Jetsons and the robotics, I do think we will see robots in the room. I think you're going to have your own cleaning robot to clean the room on demand. And I think you're going to have your own robot to get you, those sundries that Anna's talking about. So I think robotics will play a big role as well.
Yeah. When you're speaking about those robotics, we're already seeing hotels have those robots, which I think are great when you're talking about staffing shortages. If you, to improve that guest room experience, deliver those towels, deliver that meal, deliver whatever it might be. And a lot of times the people in the guest room don't want to interact with another human being at those specific moments. So I think that's a win-win. Kristen, I'm going to give you the same question, but please answer it from a consumer point of view, because you're more the research person. What do you want to see in technology in a hotel?
Sure, I'd say when keeping in mind technology and the way people approach technology, there's often, two big groups of, well, let's just say three big groups of consumers. There's those who go really headfirst into it, and they want to embrace and engage with everything technology has to offer. There are those who are, I'd say, a little bit more hesitant, and they want to kind of wait and see, go with what only offers that big benefit. And there are those who, if their printer makes a strange noise, they're unplugging it and throwing it into the trash. So that the big challenge is going to be, how do you support all of these types of consumers? So I'd say right now, connectivity is the biggest thing that people are very much interested in. So having that foundation for all their devices to actually work and be able to do all the things that they need to do. So that's now. I think 2 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe a different story.
Yeah.
So we are, of course, seeing that video is very important when it comes to having that good satisfaction, being able to access the content they want, having this personalized experience when staying with a hotel, whether that's controlling the temperature, having the ability to kind of have like a very quiet environment. I'd say kind of personalization around the types of kind of food offerings that they have, and maybe having that good concierge experience as well.
Yeah, I love that. Kimberly, what are you thinking at DirecTV, on the horizon over there?
Yeah, I think right now, what's most important is for hoteliers to put in technology that's going to be a bridge between what we see guests doing today, like the research is showing, 70-80+% of guests watching live TV today, putting in that bridge that can deliver that, and then start to introduce the streaming technology, all of the fast capability, and shows that are coming. So putting in a technology now that's future proof, that's going to allow you to kind of bridge the generational needs that are out there, as well as the financial needs. So right now, many hoteliers are saying, the TV isn't broken, no need to fix it, but that upgrade path will be coming soon. And then the bridge of this technology curve that we're on, the shift from live TV over to streaming and other technologies. I think you're going to see DirecTV continue to invest in bringing more and more streaming services to the platform, and ability for guests to access what content they want whenever they want. And then in addition to that, wherever they want on the property. So on property Wi-Fi streaming with DirecTV can allow you to take that content that you get in your room, even the live channels, and go watch the game down by the pool or in the bar.
Awesome.
And so really creating kind of this environment where guests can have the flexibility, again, to watch whatever they want, whenever they want, and then wherever they want on the property.
I don't want to put you on the spot. Maybe you can, maybe you can't answer this, but when it comes to bandwidth, are we still going to need a lot more and more and more every year? Or are we starting to plateau at this point?
Yeah, so I think Ron just mentioned Wi-Fi continues to be one of the biggest pain points in the hotel and in the room. And so I think that absolutely has to be a priority, is to continue to invest in infrastructure upgrade to support all of the internet enabled technologies that guests are bringing into the hotel. So I think hoteliers are doing a great job of getting there, but we can't slow down. We need to continue to invest in infrastructure upgrade and making sure that speeds are strong enough to support all these different technologies.
I agree, and compliments the hospitality industry in general, because I've noticed over the last couple of few years, I do a lot of live broadcasts on the internet from different hotels. I'm having less and less, or I should say, to be grammatically correct, fewer and fewer issues with connectivity, because everyone's speeds are getting so good. In fact, a lot of properties I get better than I could do here in my own house, in my studio. Anna, how about you?
Yeah, no, I think investing in the fundamentals is definitely something from a now standpoint. I think some of the things that we're looking at and exploring maybe are more focused on the extended stay segment, or things like digital lockers where you could self-serve so that you keep the labor model lean, right? I mean, there's different ways that I think we can bring technology to the hotels. That again, what everybody's been saying, I'll echo that, is, you're meeting the guests where they are and what they need. But I do think there's some, evolution that's going to continue to happen with the digital experience. And I think we've all talked about maybe not being on the bleeding edge of that, but fast following and making sure that we are investing in the correct technologies as they come.
That's absolutely right. You got to serve your guests, but you don't want to get in too quick and make it a big financial problem for the owner of the property. Peter, you're the last one to make comments. So you got to pull it all together for me, because I'm way too tired to do it myself.
This is not going to be surprising, but to me, I think the focus has to be on connectivity as well. Not just because IHG has already been focused on that and was able to establish the IHG Connect program, which, like I said, I believe is truly industry leading. I would actually add a slightly different angle to connectivity, though. It's not just important for guest experience. I think it's also important that we continue to focus on it to create more value for the hotel owners and operators. I think one of the ways that technology has to evolve is that we find more and more opportunities to take technology that today runs at the hotel out of the hotel, to have better cost proposition for owners, to improve security for those solutions, and so on and so forth. So to me, the subject of connectivity is always going to be number one, not just for the customer, but I believe also so we can deliver more value to our hotels as technology changes over time.
Excellent. And I want to thank all of you for being here. I'm sorry if we didn't get to all of your questions over there. This conversation was really fun and robust, and everybody really summed it up well. You got to keep your eye on the future, but you got to keep 2 feet firmly planted in the present. What is it that guests really want now? No, what is it that they really need now? Not what they tell you what they want. You've got to focus on how to improve their experience for the fewest dollars profitable in order to make sure owners are happy and satisfied. We could keep this party going for another 2, 5, 10 years. I love that we're back in an upcycle right now. So invest in technology, make your guests happier. It will alleviate the burden for you. And I want to thank the good folks over at DirecTV for sponsoring that. So for Anna, Matt, Peter, Ron, Kristen, Kimberly, and myself, thanks for watching. Friend me on LinkedIn. Find these people. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Have an incredible day.